Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off!
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
Great time to be sharing DRF Newbie with some of your friends who are going to be playing Belmont Week, because it's one of the biggest weeks in horse racing. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ryan Anderson, Noah Meagher, and Barry Spears, the sniper. We're going to help you all out with some Friday racing at Saratoga, and we're going to share some thoughts on the Belmont Stakes. So this is that big Belmont Stakes racing festival that will run Wednesday all the way through Sunday. 5 awesome days of racing. Wednesday starts with the New York breds, and then Thursday we get into some graded stakes action. But Friday, guys, is when it really all starts, and we get some of those big graded stakes races. So if you want to follow along with us, we're going to look at the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th on Friday, and then we're going to take a look at the Belmont Stakes for Saturday. Ryan, buddy, how's everything going on your end? What's going on? What's new with the Doug O'Neill trainees? We got one that's going to pop up here in the Belmont, right, or in the Belmont from the inside.
Yeah, all is well. Doug's got 3 out there for the weekend. I think we're just going to be talking about his Belmont runner with Vitruvian Man. But you have Listen Up Chance in the True North. Good luck to him in there against a couple of heavy hitters. And then right back in the Woody Stevens, Civil Liberty, who, obviously is much improved from his 2-year-old season. He's
a nice horse too, man.
Very nice horse. Very nice horse. Really impressive win at Keeneland. He meets a salty group. He's got to face Crude Velocity, Englishman, and some others, but hey, he's got a puncher's chance. I think he's got the best of the 3 to hit the board, maybe even shock the world. So I like it. He's out there, or he's heading out there sometime today, tomorrow. But it's gonna be a fun weekend.
Noah, how's everything going on your end, buddy? What's new?
Nothing. Living the dream. Couldn't be better. I know it's been fun doing these shows. A couple weeks, obviously, through Triple Crown season, and I tell you what, if this racing that we see this week at Saratoga is any indication of what we're going to see this summer at the Spa, we are in for a treat, because these are some serious races, not only that we're going to be talking about on Friday, but just the whole Belmont Stakes Festival. It's really exciting, and I can't wait.
Barry, my friend, you get to put your feet on the ground for this weekend at least, right? You've been all over the place over the last couple months, but you're just going to be watching the Belmont from home and helping out with some DRF stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be a real gambling weekend. Let's just say that. Not being at the track is a little bit different, because usually when I'm at the track, there's a lot going on, a lot of people to meet, talk to, stuff like that. So at home, kind of in my own bubble, I can go to the beach and hang out and play some races. So that's on the agenda this weekend.
And we want to let all of you know how you can play those races with the Belmont Stakes past performances. We have a couple different packages. If you're going to be looking at all the races from like Wednesday through Sunday, we have a full package for those. Maybe you just want to focus on like Belmont Day and the clocker reports and the betting strategies. So you can get 2 different packages for whichever you're going to be looking at. And don't forget that there will be a handicapping show tomorrow night on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, with myself, David Aragona, Craig Milkowski. We'll dive into the Belmont field. We'll go horse by horse through that in a real in-depth Belmont analysis. Just a quick flash of the Belmont Stakes field. We're going to get to that at the end of this show. We'll share some thoughts from Ryan, from Noah, and from Barry. So, fellas, let's dive on into the Friday card. There are 5 graded stakes races on the Friday card. One of them is the Bed of Roses, which is going to go early in the card. That's basically like a matchup with Grand Job and Ways and Means. They're the 2 that are they're going to take a lot of money early on. So I think they put that race early in the card to keep it out of some of the late exotics. Race number 9 is the Grade 2 Wonder again. And as we look at this field, some of the horses who I think are going to take some money, you can go towards the outside with the number 8 Lion Lake, who ran back-to-back really, really good races and finished 3rd, beating a neck in both of them. And Ryan, that was coming off of back-to-back wins. So we're now looking at like 4 straight really good performances from Lion Lake. Probably the horse to start with, coming off that really good effort. But she's not always shown as much speed. A couple of her races, she's dropped back and been a little far back. So I guess that could be like a hole if we want to poke some holes in there with her running style. You want to start with her, and who are some of the horses you like in here, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, she's by far the horse to beat. I picked her in second. She's certainly the most likely winner, I would say. And you've mentioned it. She's run 4 really excellent races in a row for her age, and she seems to just be getting better. I opted to go a little bit towards the inside in the number 5, Time to Dream, who comes in here for Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz, third up off the layoff. Of course, she did so well here in her 2-year-old season at Saratoga. We've talked about this all the time. Some of these horses seem to thrive when they get up to the Spa. This seemed to be one of those horses because when she left and she went to the Jessamine, she ran fine, but certainly not you didn't see that energy that you saw at Saratoga over the summer. And then Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Fillies, I'm willing to kind of draw a line through that. That was a little much, a little soon, I think. But regardless, she's come back in 2 races at Tampa and Churchill, and she's run fine, and she has run better. She's taken a little bit of a step forward as a 3-year-old. I think she's back on her home soil, and to me, she seems like the value in this race. Again, Lion Lake could certainly run by all of these horses, and I don't think I would be very surprised, but I do think Time to Dream at 9-2 is definitely a great betting option for me.
Time to Dream for Ryan. How about for you, Noah? How are you seeing this race play out?
Yeah, well, some of these races that we're going to be talking about are pretty interesting because if you remember the Derby show that we did, there's actually a couple of horses I liked a lot on that card that are coming back that I don't like. So if they come back and win, then I'm really going to be pissed because I'm not going to be getting them back, getting them at the wrong time. And Lion Lake is certainly one of those. I liked her quite a bit. In that edge, I was really disappointed that she didn't get there. But I was also a little concerned that she couldn't get by Tam Tam, who was 20-1. I know the race came back pretty well. She's also got other numbers on the page that obviously make her definitely the horse to beat in here. I took a shot with the horse just to her inside. That's the number 7, Call on Me, who just seems like one of those typical Rusty Arnold fillies that need some time to get a little bit better with every start. Her debut at Gulfstream was just your typical need a race, get one under the belt, closed into a pretty slow pace and then ran on nicely, I thought, to get 3rd. Then came back at Keeneland, beat a next out winner from the Chad Brown barn, who came back and won with a much improved effort. And then last time at Churchill Downs, not only was she 3 wide on both turns with the rails out, which is obviously a death sentence when you're basically running on any turf course, not to mention the turf courses out here in Kentucky. She lost to 2 pretty nice Walsh fillies in Turner's Charm and Rating Party, who both at one point in their careers actually won here at Keeneland, which it feels like obviously when Brendan Walsh comes to Keeneland, he brings some pretty serious stock. So the fact that those fillies have some serious race under their belt, I think can give a much more excusable effort for that last race, even though the number was a little bit light. I thought the way that she did it was pretty impressive. And there's not really a ton of speed in here.
Yeah.
I think, especially with Louis booked and a little tactical speed from this filly, I think she can find herself in a pretty good spot early.
Completely agree. And, Noah, she was a horse that's been entered in like 3 different spots over the last couple of weeks. And this is the spot that she's going to end up running in. And I think they've been sort of picking out the spots where there's not that much speed. Like you said, it just looks like she could get a really good trip in here, sitting maybe 3rd or sitting pretty close to it, where I don't know how fast they'll be going early on. So Call on Me, getting a strong endorsement from Noah. Barry, how about for you as we move to you in the Wonder again? Lion Lake, the one we're kind of starting with and talking about if we like, if we don't, how we want to use. Who's on your radar in here?
Yeah, Lion Lake seems like the horse that needs an absolutely perfect trip in order to win. And that's not going to be that easy to do in this race, especially situated on the outside in the 8-hole. It's going to be tough for that horse to get good position without being wide unless everybody just lays down, which is quite possible because Coach Missoula looks to be loose on the lead here. But I'm going to go to the 6-horse Soloist. I thought this horse ran pretty decent to Imagination of the Lady back in the Jessamine in October of last year and was not that far off Time to Dream in that race. To me, they kind of ran the same race. One got a 71 buyer, the other got a 71 buyer. So on paper, they definitely ran the same race as well. Coming out of that race, Soloist ran 2 races, one in April, one in May, both wide trips, didn't really get a chance in either of them and kept running in the second one. And that's what really piques my interest here, especially going to Jose Ortiz. Makes a lot of sense with a horse that's on the rise. I like the workout since. And everything sounds or is kind of coming together for this to be a live long shot. As far as chances to win, I think they're going to be a little bit under the radar. That 12-1 is probably not going to be there because of the fact that Jose Ortiz is on board. But I'll take, 6, 7, 8-1 on this horse.
Yeah, this is kind of a sneaky horse too, is just what you pointed out. Like if you're using the Time to Dream form and you're able to make an excuse for the April 9th race, then everything on Soloist's page like makes a whole lot of sense and should be probably double the price of Time to Dream. So I like what you're doing there, Barry, looking for some value. And one horse to me that I'm kind of intrigued by in this race, I'm definitely going to use Missoula just in case, even the Laker fan in me, like Boston's not winning a lot right now, so I'm okay. I'm fine by like Missoula being a little frustrated and man, he's a chap ass. He's definitely one of those guys that I would not like to be a player on his team, but like he gets your team ready, right? He does like bring the best out of a lot of your guys for sure. Yeah. Missoula should be on the front end. The one that I'm super interested in is the 2 Fits Right. And now her figures are not overwhelming, but if you watch her last 2 wins, she ran down horses in really slow fractions in races that she shouldn't have been winning where they were going really slow. I think she might be a little bit better than she looks on paper because of those 2 races. I mean, they were crawling in that last race. She angled out at the top of the lane with a really nice W. I think there's a little more something there with her Fits Right, who's the number 2, 4-1 on the morning line. So yeah, she's in the mix with me, with Coach Missoula. Seems like we all respect Lion Lake, but I think it's pretty fair to say that we'd all line up against Lion Lake if she's going to be like 7-5 or so on the win end, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, you want to put a bow on here? Any final thoughts on the Wonder again?
Yeah, I'm with you on Fits Right as well. I had that one certainly in the mix. I think she's been really impressive in those 2 wins.
Noah, anything else to hit on before we move along from the Wonder again?
No, I like the pick that you went with. I feel like the public will probably gravitate toward her being the second choice just because it is
connections play, right?
Brad Brown, she's got some 2 impressive wins last time, and she beat Quiet Street pretty handily. I mean, Quiet Street definitely wasn't no slouch at 2. That filly just to her inside. So, yeah, I think she's got a big shot, especially just because you mentioned the fact that the pace was so slow in that race, yet both the buyer and the time form aligned pretty well with it being a pretty fast race. I mean, not a lot of times do you see a race get an 80 buyer and a 101 time form. Well, they almost run 52 seconds to the half. So I think there's a little more validity in that effort, regardless of what the early fractions were in there.
Barry, any final thoughts on the Wonder again, or horses we didn't mention that you want to talk about?
No, I think we hit them all. Fits Right definitely is intriguing, but I'm just fearful that price is going to be way
too short.
Low. Yeah.
With the connections play, I know you just get it a lot of times. Like, how short do you want to take on her if she is getting a little bit over bet? And maybe a horse like Missoula kind of floats back up, because you do think people are going to play Lion Lake. People are going to play Time to Dream. People are going to play the 2 Fits Right. And then maybe it is a horse like Missoula and the 7 who Noah mentioned, Call on Me, could be offering you really nice value. I know the 6 your Soloist is going to be a very fair price too. So lots of options in this race. It's a fun way to have like a multi-race sequence start in this 9th race, where you're just going to have to go in a lot of different directions here. So that's race number 9. Let's turn the page to race number 10. We'll talk about the Grade 1 Acorn. We can start in here with you, Noah. We only have a small field, but honestly, like if you told me maximum offer 1, that would probably surprise me a little bit. Any of the other 4 would not shock me at all. Prom Queen, Counting Stars, Meaning, and Always a Runner. We're going to have the top 3 finishers from the Kentucky Oaks back, and the 5th place finisher from the Oaks, who might have run better than the top 3 finishers in the Oaks. So we do have 4 really strong 3-year-olds in this group, even though it's not a field of 10 or 12.
That's exactly right. And I think a lot of people are going to make the case, like you said, that Prom Queen probably ran just as good, if not better, than some of the other horses that finished 1, 2, 3 in there. And probably going to take a little bit of money off of that. I thought you can make the argument that Meaning ran the best race in there. Not only did she make a pretty sustained 3-wide move into basically the fastest part of that race, they moved pretty good up front. Yeah. And I thought Explorer, even though she's not in this race, she did a pretty good job of hanging around for 4th. And I think the concern obviously going in was what was the quality that she was beating up on down in Southern California. I thought she answered the test. I mean, she was right there with some of these other fillies that she's going to face. And if I'm going to get 3-1 on her in a race in the Oaks that I thought she ran just as good as Always a Runner, who was the same price, and you're going to get 4-5 on, in theory, in a race that's not going to have the same dynamics because that was a field of 13. This is a field of 5 where I don't think you're going to necessarily get that hot pace that they saw in the Kentucky Oaks up front on Friday. Give me Meaning at 3-1. I think she's really interesting. And just the fact that Michael McCarthy bothers to bring her all the way out east once again to face these similar rivals, I think she's got a big shot.
Yeah, Barry, what makes this race really fun and challenging is, I mean, I think out of the 4 horses coming out of the Oaks, you can make cases for all of them and why you would like to use them right back. Noah was just talking about Meaning and the trip she could sit. Prom Queen had legitimate trouble. Counting Stars probably was a little closer than they may have expected in that race, and it was kind of moving a little early. And then you've got the winner, Always a Runner, who's still undefeated. And so we do have this really competitive group of 4. Do you have a strong feeling or opinion on 1 or 2 of these 4, Barry?
I'm agreeing with Noah quite a bit here with Meaning. Definitely got the jump on everybody in the Oaks and just got outrun late by Always a Runner. Now, if you're a believer in the Omnifig, then Always a Runner is definitely the horse for you. I just think that the pace dynamic of this race is really interesting. I would think a horse like Prom Queen or Counting Stars would want to get to the front, and that might actually bottom out this field, depending on who gets the lead. I would say Prom Queen's a little bit quicker and probably would want the lead. And that might be all they wrote as far as this race goes, because there's really not much speed to run into. Always a Runner obviously needed it. Meaning needed it last time, although that one likes to be closer up to the pace most of the time. But Prom Queen has won on the lead before. I'm not really sure, how good Maximum Offer is. I don't think they're that good to be able to outquick everybody to the front, although they might let this horse go to the front. I'm not really too sure, but I would count on Prom Queen trying to be really forwardly placed here, and that might make everything difficult for everyone else.
I hope so, because I like Prom Queen in this spot. And I think with Pratt jumping aboard with the inside draw, he's so good at making that move and just getting the horse in the race. I mean, her Gulfstream Park Oaks was awesome. It was really good. She went into the Kentucky Oaks as like right in that top group where she was, one of 4 or 5 horses that were all going to be vying for favoritism. And then she just, I don't know what happened. Like she got bumped a little bit at the start and she was so far back.
Kind of wide.
Yeah.
Kind of wide the whole way, though.
So then she's like, she backs out of a tough spot early on. She's 12th. Then she angles 4 wide. She gets stopped. She moves out widest. She shifts down to the inside, and she starts making up ground inside late. So, Ryan, she was kind of all over the place. She is a grade 2 winner, and I do expect what Barry said. I think she's going to be a lot more forward, and I would not be shocked if Flavien tries to get aggressive and sends her from the rail. Who do you like in this race, Ryan? With Noah and Barry, they both kind of started with Meaning. I think I'm really high on Prom Queen and hoping to get that more aggressive trip inside. Where do you land here?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I landed on Always a Runner. I
Nice.
get that last time things set up really nicely for her, but 2 back in the Gazelle, Pashmina was loose on a pretty easy lead. The horse in second set a really nice trip. Always a Runner ran and got them, and that was her second start.
I needed Pashmina that day so bad, and she ran me down. Like I was totally home free. In like watching that race,
Yeah.
if you got Pashmina, you'd think you're home free. And you're right, Ryan. She ran her down right on the square.
Like she's named appropriately because she put her head down and wanted to go win that race, and she did exactly that. For Chad to wheel her back in the Kentucky Oaks for just her 3rd career start, and for her to put on a performance like that, she seems to be the type that's only getting better. I'm not too worried about the pace scenario in here because she proved 2 back that's not going to really play against her. She's still going to run that same race and have that ability. Meaning did make that first move into a quick pace last time in the Oaks, but Always a Runner, I think, still just kind of went right on by. Prom Queen's the horse that scares me the most because of what you and Barry said. Flavien Prat looks at the same thing we do. He's looking at these. He sees that there's not a whole lot of early speed, and he's one of the few riders I trust to really be aggressive and put a horse on the lead, even if it's not part of their that horse's MO. If he sees that that's a way to win, he'll do that, and he can bottom out the field doing so. So horizontally, I'm probably just going to single Always a Runner, but I'm going to play the Prom Queen over always a runner. Exacta is my, my safety there.
Ryan, before we continue along, I wanted to just kind of pull this up and show when we were talking about DRF newbie, because something I was watching your shows with Noah, and you were talking about how, like, I think for a lot of people, when you open up those past performances for the first time and you go out to the track, like, what am I looking at? Like, it's really overwhelming. And even my friends who are really sharp sports bettors, and trying to explain all the time when they don't have the background, it's really difficult, right? Like, that experience is one that I think a lot of us have at the racetrack when you're opening at it for the first time.
Absolutely. It's an extremely steep learning curve. The first time you look at the racing form, it's like hieroglyphics on the page if you're not used to what you're seeing. So that's what I think is great about DRF newbie, is it bridges that gap and makes it a lot simpler to understand.
Yeah, so if you're someone who fits that, like, don't feel embarrassed. Like, I'm the same way when I'm trying to look at other games and sports that I'm not covering for a living, right? There is a learning curve. It's going to take a little while for you to pick a few things up, and then you start noticing them. Like, Barry, you and I talk about this all the time. Like, our eyes are now trained to the things that we look for in the PPs, right? So, like, you open up a race, like, Barry's looking for horses that are going to get the makeover package. I know, right? Like, he's looking for that horse right away. He's getting all the changes. Barry's got, like, in the turf sprint race, he's finding certain horses. Like, I'm looking for running lines that, like, kind of pop out to me. But when you're new, that stuff isn't jumping out to you. Like, your antennas aren't going off yet. You need to figure things out with DRF newbie. You need to learn about pace that we're talking about, how race is set up. You'll find those things out, and it's so helpful, Barry, because how many people, right, in these weekends that need a little bit of help, we can direct them right over to DRF newbie.
Yeah, I mean, it can accelerate your learning curve in this game quite a bit. I wish I had it early on when I started using, the racing form and everything. It would have definitely the trajectory of my learning curve would have been so much different if I had a tool like this. So, don't be embarrassed at all, because, if someone told you to do a cartwheel every time you made a bet and you won $500 every time you did it, you'd do it every time, no matter how stupid you would look. Right. So this is just another tool in the toolbox, another club in the golf bag, and I use it.
And if you want to see people looking stupid, watch me when we go out to Top Golf. That's when you want to really laugh at someone, and when you can just like, man, I am athletic, but when you put a golf club in my hand, I just didn't golf a whole lot. I am just like, if you saw a picture or a video of me, you would just think I was the most awkward and uncoordinated person in the entire world.
Worse than Charles Barkley? Can't be worse than that.
I mean, I may look visually a little better than Barkley, but Barkley can probably hit the ball farther than I still can. So who knows? But don't feel ashamed. Don't feel worried. DRF newbie is here to help you. All four of us, we're here to help you. You reach out to any one of us, we'll help you. We'll help you make sense of it. We'll answer a question if you have. Ryan and Noah, I know they do a great job on their shows, responding to comments, answering questions a lot. I love when I'm on there with them, and then we're talking to a lot of the folks giving us feedback. So, Noah, you want to put a bow on the acorn for us? Any final thoughts? Meaning was your kind of number one. Was there anyone else that you like or dislike, or are you just going to kind of roll with Meaning here?
I'll probably just roll with her. It feels like it seems silly, especially if I'm playing horizontals, to maybe use 2 or 3 in this field, just because I feel like if I want to use others, I feel like I have to use the 2 horses that you guys mentioned, Always a Runner and Prom Queen. But I don't know if it seems financially viable to do that when I'm playing a pick 4, pick 5 sequence.
And they're all going to be the same prices too, right? Yeah. It's one thing if one of them is like a big long shot, and at least you know that, like, if they hit, you're going to have a chance for it to be way bigger payout. If they're going to be like A, B, and C, you got to kind of pick and choose one of them, right?
You're right. Yeah, I think that's exactly the way that you're supposed to go about it. And I think if you are going to play that safety or that hedge, I think Ryan's got the way to do it, where you would probably key one of those horses on top with Meaning in second.
Yep. And what's nice too, I'll just keep saying it to people all the time, like, don't bet scared anymore, because there's so many wagers. There's so many different wagers where it's like, don't feel like you have to add on all these favorites in races that you don't love them. If you get knocked out, You get knocked out, you can come right back and play a different wager. Just play your smaller tickets, play a little more of them. There's 2-day pick 4s and pick 5s. There's all dirt pick 5s. There's a ton of different wagers here. Focus on the horses you like, the wagers you like. Don't play scared and start adding in a bunch of 2-to-1 shots that you didn't even really like all that much. You'll always lose money if you're playing the races that way. Let's move to the Grade 1 New York. Barry, let's start with you here, my friend. This is a mile and 3/16 for the fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. And we can kind of look to the outside to the horses that we want to start the conversation with, because we have the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf winner, Jazora, who's had like a really interesting few months because she's off for a while. She shows up in her first start of the year, and she's in the Chad Brown barn, and she runs second. And then immediately following, it kind of felt like a weird spot for her, to be honest, too, like in not showing up in like a Grade 1 race or one of these more prestigious races, showing up in the Modesty. And it felt like it might be a little shorter for her, too, than where she's at her best. She ran second that day. And following that, owner Peter Brandt took her from Chad Brown and gave her to Belmont and took a lot of horses from Chad Brown out of the Chad Brown barn. So it seems like this horse might have been kind of a sticking point for the connections here, and she's now going to be in the Mott barn. So I think we have to start with her. This is probably a better spot for her. Second start back, she gets a little more distance. But Barry, she's going to have to deal with the horse who just beat her right on the square, right to her inside, Kathy and Marissa. And I don't know Chad Brown personally, but I am just saying, if this was me personally and a friend of mine or an owner took the horse from me, I would really love to try to beat her in this race, right? And Chad has a couple opportunities in here to do that. He has Portfolio Duration. He also has Pretty Picture. He also has City Girl. And he has Kathy and Marissa. So he's got 4 chances to defeat his old friend Jazora here.
I'm still wondering how Gazora was 9-1 on Breeders' Cup Day.
And she was the morning line favorite, right? I think she was 7-2.
Yes.
Because I remember David saying afterwards, like, that was the one that he really was shocked on, that she went off at 9-1 and wins.
Yeah, I think the whole world literally fell asleep at the wheel and let that horse go off at 9-1, including myself. But I digress. I want to beat that horse in this race because I think this is a really terrific race, top to bottom. There's a bunch of horses in here that are really, really good. A lot of fillies and mares that are on the way up. And I don't think Gazora really lays over this field like the buyer numbers might indicate. But a horse that really catches my eye is the 2, Beleza. I like this horse out in Del Mar.
She was training. Remember how good she looked, like in the paddock and in the race, like leading up to the race.
Didn't run all that poorly. Just didn't get a good trip because of the post position. Was hung out wide and just didn't really get settled and just didn't run her race. I'm willing to forgive that. And she actually got a good buyer number that day. Came back in the Orchid in March and ran pretty good. I like that as a prep, especially for this race. They gave the horse enough time. They should be coming into this really, really good. And I think they're a little bit below the radar because they didn't win a whole lot or haven't won since they've been over here in the States. Really a whole lot. They won twice. And the others, they were kind of knocking at the door and obviously running against the top-notch competition. You can't really make too many mistakes, and I think that's what happened. They were kind of hung out wide. This is the best post position this horse has had since they made their debut in the States, and I think that might make all the difference, especially at a good price. Laura Lynn is another one who I think is a lot better than what the morning line maker is trying to say they are. You know, the only 2 horses, I mean, they lost the City Girl, which, you know, is you could debate and say that was a prep race and they didn't really want to win, weren't cranked up all the way. But they lost to Fion and Lush Lips, who both would be odds on in this race, and didn't embarrass themselves at all. It's just the trip that's the problem. I'm not really sure what Kendrick has in store for this horse, because typically he's not a rider that comes from off the pace. I know he can do it, but it's just not his forte. And I'd like to see him forwardly placed with this horse and not get caught up in a speed duel, but it's going to be hard. There's a lot of talent in this field, and any one of these horses can win.
Barry looking for some value in here. Ryan, do you think that there's prices to be found in here, or do you feel like it's a chalkier race with Gazora and Kathy and Marissa to start?
To me, I'm trying to beat Gazora pretty much every time I see her until they put her back out to 3 turns. Chad Brown, when he was training her, said that was the plan all year, because the Keeneland race in the fall for Breeders' Cup for the Filly and Mare Turf will be run around 2 turns, and they said that they want to keep her at that configuration. To me, she's clearly better going 3 turns, clearly better going a little bit longer, and with the way our tracks are set up, she doesn't really have that option here. Until I think they get to like Kentucky Downs. So maybe, you look at that, because they have about 7 turns when they go a mile. So
she could go to like Charlestown, right?
That's
true. And then have a bunch of
you can run 7 furlongs
there
and take 4 turns there at Charlestown. So until she's at a track that I think better fits her needs, I'm going to try and beat her. Kathy and Marissa was ultra impressive last time by my eye, and she really dug in to go and win that. And you draw off and win a race like that by open lengths. That's very impressive, even though Proctor Street maybe disappointed a little bit this past weekend when she lost. I still think Kathy and Marissa is a horse that I would certainly use here. The other one I'm a little bit interested in is the number 6 Kankura, I think is how you pronounce it. Will be in here for connections I'm not super familiar with, but if you look 4 back in the running lines, this horse in the Prix de Diane finished 3rd behind Gazora, who is in that race, and is since come back to cut back to that 1.25 miles and has run really well. 1 win next time out in the Group 3. Didn't run great in the Jean Romanet, I think is how you pronounce it, but showed a bit of a new tactic there and was up close on the lead that day. And that's typically not the best place to be for those French races.
And that was right before the long layoff too, right? We could probably put a real line right through that and make an excuse. This was the former trainer of Gazora.
I was going to say that was a stablemate when they lost to that horse.
Yep.
And then coming back was the favorite in that Group 3. And I was able to find the replay on YouTube after looking at the running line, because it says eye catcher at the end. And she certainly finished that race like that was kind of a prep and something that she could definitely take a step forward from. So she's interesting to me, especially with the trainer you mentioned. Trained Gazora. Coming over here, I feel like she might do some better running on that firm ground. You can see in her running lines, they've kind of kept her on what France calls firm. So for us, that's probably soft. But either way, I think coming over here, you're going to get a bit of a firmer turf course at Saratoga. She's a bit of a dark horse that I would want to include on my tickets, definitely.
Noah, let's hand the baton over to you. The Grade 1 New York going to go as race number 11. Who are some of the horses on your radar here?
Yeah, I hate to really repeat runners that we've talked about, because I feel like you could probably make a case for just about all 9 of these fillies in here. I mean, this is a really contentious race. I really like what Barry had to say about the number 4 Laurelin, who I think was just, when I watched that prep race in the Bouquet last time, I just thought she was really fresh. I don't know what it was about that race that made her so fresh. Obviously, I think it was probably a prep for the race that we're going to see from her on Friday. But it was just so disappointing to me for the connections to show back up here and kind of stick to the scheduled plan. They're not putting a ton of stock in the race that she ran last time. I feel like neither should I, because Ryan has made a case for Time to Dream, who ran basically the best races of her career at Saratoga. Look at her Saratoga Oaks Invitational. I mean, she was fantastic that day when she ran a 94 buyer and beat Opulent Restraint. It was very good at that point in time over the summer last year. I just have too much respect for Graham Motion for him to put this filly in this spot after the races she ran last time. And I thought even in those races that Barry had mentioned when she lost to Lush Lips and Fione in the Jockey Club Oaks, I thought if there was a little better timed ride from Kendrick, I thought she could have won that race. I like her quite a bit. I think 8 to 1 would probably pick, but just one of those races where, if you like somebody, you like them at least a decent amount, go for it, because you're going to get a serious price on really any of the other runners outside of the 8 and the 9. And even if you like those 2, I mean, the favorite in here is probably going to be 2 to 1 of the lowest, right?
Yeah. And what about the way the Friday races are, like couple of these races are small fields, right? The Acorn, the Ogden Phipps we're going to talk about, but it's a small field where you know, a lot of people might be using 3 or 4 of the 5 horses, right? That's a really competitive race. This race is really challenging. The horse that I like a little bit, we haven't even mentioned, and that's the 7, City Girl, who, you know, you look at her, she was off for almost 2 full years. She was off from April of 2024 to February of this year. So 22 months. I mean, that's a massive layoff for her. So think about that. That's all of the time of like, she's a 5-year-old mare now. That's from like the very beginning of the 3-year-old season when she's just starting to develop till now as a 5-year-old. There's all this time that we don't know how she grew up and developed and matured. So look at her 3 races since she shows back up. Chad wants to take her to Tampa to give her like a little bit of softer company to build her up. She runs exactly like you would think in the February 7th race. She lost to a horse named Wrigleyville who won gate to wire. So there was no passing in that race, and she was way out of it. She was the only horse who closed from 10th to finish 3rd that day. In her second start, US, much more involved in the race. She sat a great trip. She looked like a winner all the way around. And then last time, she kind of ran a weird race where it was like a give and a go. It was almost like a harness race. After she backed up, it's like, okay, she's done. I can't believe she came back on again and almost ran like 2 races. I think there is something there with this mare who is like stepping forward in every race. I think she's got some serious ability, and her figures are just a little bit light because we've only seen her a few times in the US here. So I like City Girl a bit. And in a race where I don't know how fast they're going to be going early on in here. That's why what you guys are talking about with Laurel Lynn, like, is she's had some races where she could be a lot more forward too. And I wonder if Laurel Lynn and maybe the 7 City Girl are horses that could get really nice trips in here. Let's, Barry, what do you think about the way this pace kind of shapes up a little bit?
Yeah, it's real murky. I really don't know who's actually going to be on the lead. I guess Laurel Lynn could actually do it, especially if Kendrick wants to get aggressive, which he usually tries to do.
And Brown's got 4, right? Like one of those Brown horses probably will go, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I would think one
maybe
of
the inside horse.
Maybe.
Because I would like it to be the 7.
That's probably the one that's most likely to go to the front. Just because of positioning as far as where their post position is. Pratt understanding there's no pace in here. And he's probably going to push the pace at the very least, if not beyond the lead. Beyond that, everybody should be trying to line up to get their trip, and I think they all will because this field isn't that big, and everybody's going to have a shot at it. So this is really going to be an interesting race.
Ryan, let's get some final thoughts on the Grade 1 New York before we finish up here.
Yeah, once again, I do think Pratt, he's reading the same form. I think he goes to the lead, especially on the stretch out from a mile out to the mile and a 3/16. I think it naturally just kind of takes you forward. And that inside post where this horse has been tactical, I do think that naturally is going to bring you into the race a little bit more. So that's certainly one that I think could take him a long way.
There's a look at the Grade 1 New York. That's going to be race number 11 on Friday at Saratoga. Let's finish up the Friday races, and then following this, we'll talk a little bit about the Belmont. This one is the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps. It's going to go as a mile and an 1/8. Race number 12 at Saratoga on Saturday. So Noah, in this race, we don't really have the standout right now in the division in this race. Like, I think we could say Nitrogen because she's been so good the last year and a half. But Nitrogen's couple races this year, she was defeated in her last 2 races as the heavy favorite. So she's certainly a horse, probably the one that we start the conversation with here. But she is, I don't think, a cinch by any means, just based on that recent form. She's just really, really solid overall. Grade 1 winner, Breeders' Cup Distaff runner-up, Nitrogen. But fully subscribed is in very nice form. She was just second last time out in the La Troyenne, and that was her first start of the year. You've got Alpine Princess, who's in nice form. She won the Double Dog Dare last time out. And then you've got Bless the Broken on the outside, who seems like she might just be a little below the tip top of the division. I played her the last couple of races. She couldn't quite get there, but she's fine. She's solid. So again, not a big field, but in the field of 6, 4 or 5, that really wouldn't shock you in here.
Yeah, no doubt. And even though Nitrogen's probably the horse to beat. I just feel like off of those last 2 races, especially at the price that she's probably going to be somewhere in that 6-5, 7-5 range. There's nothing I've really seen in the Azeri and the Apple Blossom at Oaklawn that really want me to bet her back at that price. So it's just a race that I feel like you're supposed to at least price shop a little bit or try to strike a bit of an upset. You're getting off the bandwagon. I'm getting on. I'm trying Bless the Broken this time.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like when people go and watch that La Troyenne back, people will get kind of caught up in the duel down the stretch that Shred the Gnar and Fully Subscribed had, and both of them ran really, really well in that race. I feel like Bless the Broken was making up a significant amount of ground in that race, and that race was loaded blue figures on time form. And I thought she was making a pretty decent effort to kind of go and get those couple. She was only a length and a half back of Fully Subscribed that day, and then she was over 3 lengths clear of the rest of the horses in that field. So there was more separation to the rest of the field, not only on paper, but what people kind of think, because people obviously, when they watch that replay, they just kind of look at those 2 that finished 1-2, kind of head bobbing down the stretch, fighting it out, duking it out to get to the wire. I thought Bless the Broken ran pretty respectable in that race, just enough for me to not make a huge wager on her, but just to try her one more time in this spot. And it's another race. I feel like we just keep bringing it up. There's not a ton of speed in here.
Yeah.
I like the fact that not only does she draw the cozy outside post in this field of 6, but when she switched from the Walden barn to the Cox barn, we saw a significant change in tactics from her when Giroux is able to get her into a much more tactical position. And I think she'll be able to find herself in that position from the outside post here. So hopefully Flo is able to do that from this outside post. And I think you probably get somewhere in that 5-1, 6-1 range. I think it's enough for me to try to find out and get on that wagon.
Funny, Ryan, Noah was kind of hitting on it. And from a pace standpoint, I think that's why I may go to the 3 Alpine Princess a little bit in here. And I've never really thought she was like a grade 1 type. Early on in her career, she was solid. She was like looked like they were trying to get her into the Kentucky Oaks. She ran in the Bourbonette Oaks. She ran in the Rachel Alexandra. She was kind of a cut below the top 3-year-olds at that point. And then the last couple of years, she's just been like solid. And then recently, the last 5 or 6 races, she has just stepped her game up another level. If you're looking at the speed figures, she's almost all in the 90 buyers now. Her last 3 races, she's now won 2 of the last 3, multiple graded stakes winner. The one that she didn't win, she lost to Claire Beret, rest in peace, who just had a freak accident after a training issue the other morning. She comes back from the barn and she passes away. And Claire Beret was one of the top horses in the division. But this race was loaded. Look, she finished in front of Shred the Gnar. She finished in front of Eunomia, who both came back to win next time out. So yeah, for me in a race where there's not that much early speed, Alpine Princess is definitely going to be a horse who I have in pick 4s and pick 5s and in the mix here. Ryan, who do you like in this race and who's on your radar?
Yeah, to me, Alpine Princess, I get your point completely. She barely got up over Eunomia and Penoir last time on what I could only describe as a dream trip. And I singled her that day. I loved Alpine Princess in there. This is definitely a tougher group. You meet a horse like Nitrogen. She hasn't quite gotten up to that grade 1 level, to your point. I do think 4-1, if you do like her, is perfect enough value for me. I ended up down on the rail with Fully Subscribed. Sure. Once again, Flavien Prat, Chad Brown, Klarovich. I think Prat has the rail in the late pick 3 ending in this race, so he better get accustomed to it. But this is another race where the pace scenario is murky. I think Fully Subscribed ran fine last time out. You weren't going to really get by Shred the Gnar. That horse had such a nice trip off of the pace setter at Churchill Downs and La Troyenne, and it's tough to make up ground if you have a horse sitting, just an absolute garden trip and gets the jump on you. So Pratt made his move on her around the far turn and obviously just didn't have enough. I do think second up now, that horse can certainly build off that effort and take another step forward. And on top of that, in a race where I don't see a whole lot of speed and where I think your main threat, Nitrogen, has kind of had some issues running down some rivals late, I think it's very clear that Pratt should probably put this horse up on the lead early and just kind of take them around there. And to me, it's either that or you got to use, 4 different horses in here because I think you could go many different directions. But for me, Fully Subscribed at 5-2 feels like a good enough price for me.
Barry, she looks really good on paper, Fully Subscribed, right? Like her overall body of work. She just doesn't have bad races. She's never had a race where she just didn't show up, and she probably needed that race. She's just making her second start as a 4-year-old. So you feel like there's all this upside for her the rest of the year. Do you like her? Do you not like her? And who's on your radar here, Barry?
Yeah, Fully Subscribed is definitely on my radar. I agree with everything Ryan was saying. I think she got a lot out of that La Troan and should springboard into bigger and better things. Just don't know if it's going to be at Saratoga this weekend or not, but it's definitely going to be there. One thing about Nitrogen, I'm sort of sick of seeing this horse run on the dirt. Honestly, because if you look at turf horses that run on the dirt, they usually make a nice sustained run and then flatten out.
Like a quick, like a burst, right? They got that little.
They get a burst, and you see them coming. They'll pick up the bridle and they'll make a move and then flatten out. And she does this exact same thing, except her flatten out time is a lot less than everybody else's. So she sustains a run longer than most turf horses.
She's classier, right? Yeah,
correct. And I just think she's way more suited for the turf than the dirt. And I'm going to bet against her every time I see her on the dirt, including this one. I'm with you also, Gino. Alpine Princess. I think Irad is going to try to steal this race on the lead. He should be pedal to the metal right out of the gate and just slow everybody down, back him up. It might be the winning trip here because there's really no speed.
Alpine Princess is the one for me and Barry, hoping to steal it. Fully Subscribed. Sounds like we all kind of are all a little bit stronger on Fully Subscribed than on Nitrogen in here too, right? If we're talking about like the two that are going to be short prices.
Honestly,
like,
I wouldn't be surprised if Fully Subscribed goes off as the favorite here.
That actually, just based on recent form, because Nitrogen's kind of living on reputation, I think, still from last year. And Noah, you were hitting on it. Like, I didn't love those races at Oaklawn. Like, there was nothing off of them that was going to make me say, okay, she's going to turn it around. Maybe the sloppy track 2 starts back. We can say she doesn't like the sloppy track as much. But she got beat on the square last time out. And I think she's kind of going to run the same sort of race. And like, it feels like someone in most of these races can jump up and run a better race, and she'll like be second and third. And we're all a little cold on Nitrogen in here at the short price. Noah would Bless the Broken. Barry and I like Alpine Princess a little bit. Ryan's going to lean on Fully Subscribed. Any final thoughts on this one, guys? And on Friday, pretty solid. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, I'm with Barry. If Nitrogen doesn't get the job done, can we see her back on turf, please?
Right? Because what happened?
Would love to see it.
She ran on the dirt in the race that was taken off the grass, right?
And the 3-horse race.
And she crushes, so then it opens up these options for them. But that doesn't necessarily mean she's just a better dirt horse.
Right.
Right?
Because she's only gotten better. It's not like she's ever really taken a step back. I think the sloppy effort in the Azeri is the only time where you can say, like, okay, she didn't like that track. But she runs 95s, 97s. Like, she
might be better than that on Crass, right? She might be faster than that exact on.
Correct.
She might have just been getting better on the wrong surface.
Yep.
But still so classy, as Barry was pointing out, that like she's still
just getting her.
Some of the races she just wins, even though she's probably not on her best surface. So
agreed.
The Ogden Phipps looks like 2 horses will take a lot of the money, but we're fine playing some of the others like Alpine Princess, Bless the Broken, and Ryan will lean on Fully Subscribed. Let's move to Saturday. We've got the Belmont Stakes, just a field of 9. But Noah, honestly, if you told me any one of 7 of the 9 in this field won, I wouldn't be that shocked. I need to see right now a little more from Vitruvian Man and Otino. Those are kind of like the prospects, right? Those are the horses that, and that's exactly what Chad Brown and Doug have pointed out. These are horses that they've shown you talent early in their career. They haven't put it all together yet, but you know they've got a race in there coming at some point. Is it going to be Saturday at the Belmont? Who knows? But I mean, other than those 2, the other 7 in this race, I wouldn't be shocked if you saw a pretty good performance from any one of them. Who do you like in here, Noah? Who do you want to start with?
Yeah, well, first of all, I totally agree. I mean, this is what's so fascinating about not only this 3-year-old crop, but the Belmont Stakes this year in general, because I think it's pretty apparent that this is not the 3-year-old crop we've seen the last couple of years with the likes of Fiercest Sierra Leone, and then last year with Journalism by Aza and Sovereignty, of course. But it just so happens that this field is just going to be really competitive on Saturday, and I can't wait for the race. It's going to be very exciting. Ryan knows this very well. I have lauded the praises of Power Shift for quite a while. And there's certainly some concerns, mainly the fact that his worst race by far was without Lasix. But I feel like the Tampa Bay Derby was looked at with a lesser light at that point in time.
Yeah.
Versus what everyone thought of it after the fact when the Puma came back and ran really well in the Florida Derby. Further ado, obviously came back and crushed in the Bluegrass. So it looked like that race went from being one of the lesser preps to one of the better preps in a pretty quick amount of time, which is just something that you typically don't see. And maybe that's the indication that this 3-year-old crop is just not what it's been the last couple of years. But I always felt like he was a horse that would suit the 1.25 mile at the Belmont pretty well, with the fact that he's got some early speed and he's just very low motor. And I was really impressed with not only his maiden race when he actually lost to Emerging Market, but the race that he ran last time in the opener on Derby Day, where he got to the front end. It seemed like he was getting better as the distances were getting longer. And you could just tell in that race, like, he's just got that low motor, like that one gear that he doesn't like. He's not a big accelerator. He's not going to, flatten out on you. And I think with this race, with the pace dynamics that you see right here on the screen, especially with Louis out in front of him, I think he's going to have a big shot. I mean, they're going to have to come in and catch him. It reminds me a lot of a Mindframe type. My hope is that Mindframe actually wants to go the 1.25 mile. But we'll have to find out on Saturday.
This is about as good of a race that you could have asked for on paper for Power Shift, right? With the dynamics of the early pace, not being a bunch of other early speed in here. Like, he is probably naturally the quickest horse early in this field.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And there's not really horses, I think, that want to be all that much forward, because the horses that were forward in the Derby, like Emerging Market, were compromised by that. So I think Flavien Prat's probably going to want to not make that mistake once again. Not that they're going to fly around like they did in the Derby, but I think Prat's going to want to have him settle a little bit more, like we saw from him in the Louisiana Derby, where he's just a little bit off the pace and making that one run that he made when he ran down Pat Bovlian in that race at Fairgrounds. So I think the tactics should be interesting. I think Power Shift's probably going to find himself on the front end, but who finds himself like second flight, third flight, it's going to be very interesting.
Ryan, do you feel like it's as competitive of a race? We haven't seen like too many crazy buyers from this group of 3-year-olds, right? Or too many that seem like they're so much faster. I think 95s in both the Derby and the Preakness was the winning number for buyer speed figures. And when that happens, it kind of keeps everybody in the mix. You feel like so many horses can hit that mark if needed. Who do you like in this spot?
Yeah, this is one of those races where these 3-year-old races all year are going to be amazing. They're going to be so fun to watch and bet, because I do think there's no huge standout in here. And I'm back on the horse that I was on in the Kentucky Derby in the number 7 Commandment. It's not often I will criticize a guy like Luis Saez, but that ride was not his best. It's not going to go on the highlight reel. He was in the best spot passing the wire the first time. I felt great about it. And then all of a sudden, by the time they got to the backstretch, he is up and a part of this hot pace that just completely melted down.
Unnecessarily. He just didn't need to go that early.
I think he just got antsy. I think he got a little bit jumpy, a little antsy. And I don't know if, maybe his clock internally was off or something like that, which I can't really blame him. In a race like the Derby, you'd probably feel like you should be.
You want to go, right? You want to get in front of the trouble.
You want to be up there. And it was just, it completely fell apart at the end, as we know. And he ran respectively, and he made his move. He ran his race, and he flattened out because he moved into the fastest part. I think now he comes back here, and while there's not a ton of pace in this race, I do think the number 6, Growth Equity, one of the 3 Chads in here, is going to be the one that's kind of up and forward.
That makes the most sense, pace. Right? One of the 3 Chads goes, and he's the one that's kind of got the natural early speed of him.
Exactly. But on top of that, if you watch Commandment's latest work, Brad Cox did something interesting and worked him inside of a workmate, which he hasn't done from what I've seen on all of his previous works. He didn't let the workmate go by him to the outside. It looks like maybe that was some intention to get this horse a little more forward, get this horse involved earlier in the race. So that was something new that I saw from at least from what his workouts are. So I think Commandment can be a little more tactical. Obviously, a guy like Johnny V, 4 different riders in 4 races, and I'm not really sure you can say anyone is a huge upgrade or downgrade
Right?
outside of going to Johnny V and the Hall of Famer here. So he's had 4 excellent jockeys aboard, and I do think Johnny's going to give him that chance to get the best position. And a guy like Johnny's not going to hurry things up in his head. He's not going to jump the gun. He's not going to get ahead over his skis. He's going to have this horse in the right place, and hopefully he's had enough time to kind of figure this horse out. I'm not sure if he's been working him in the mornings, but I'd hope he's gotten on him a couple times so he knows kind of what he has underneath him.
I am the 2 horses that you guys just mentioned. Those are my top 2 picks, 7 and 2. So, and for me, Commandment, I do this generally. If the horse I pick in the Derby, I'll usually pick back in the Belmont for most of the time, because I don't really hold the Derby against horses. Right. If a different horse runs really well in there, then maybe I might upgrade them a little bit, like coming off of a tough performance in the Derby. But a lot of horses just don't fire in that race. Like the dynamics of it are so different. So I'm looking at it, as you were pointing out, Ryan. I thought he may have moved a little bit early going into the Derby. I thought he was right there with anyone as the best horses in this group. And I do wonder if maybe the back-to-back 100 buyer speed figures took a little bit out of him in the Kentucky Derby. He ran as big of races as anyone in the division in back-to-back races, may have moved a little early, regressed a little bit. It wasn't even like he ran bad, though, in the Derby. Yeah. Like, he wasn't way out of it. He just moved early, faded, wasn't in it with the top few. I think he's, just like you said, going to be a little bit closer here. I think Brad Cox is kind of like a little bit wondering why nobody's talking about this horse. Dave Grenning actually wrote an article about how he's like completely forgotten about and like out of sight, out of mind, and everybody's jumped off of him a little bit. If he is 5 or 6 to 1 and a better price than some of the others, just because he didn't finish quite as well as Chief Wallaby in the Derby, like I expect him to run really, really well on Saturday, Barry. And I do think he of Renegade and Golden Tempo and some of these horses who we kind of pigeonhole as closers, I don't think he's a deep closer. I think you can put him a little bit more into the race than those other horses. So that's for me. Commandment, I'll go back to him. I do respect Powership. I made him my second selection because I think he could get the lead. Barry, who are the horses that you definitely want to have, and who are your picks in here?
Yeah, Commandment's always been a tough read for me anyway. I know he's run some triple-digit buyers, but I think a lot of the questions with him is because of the fact he doesn't blow horses away. Yeah. He barely won the Florida Derby. He barely won the Fountain of Youth. And I think that might have kind of caught up with him a little bit in the Derby. I mean, the Derby's just a weird race in general. He didn't get a good start. I can put a line through that. So I can understand somebody liking this horse off of that effort. I'm going to go elsewhere. I think Renegade stands to get the best trip out of anybody here.
Best horse is going to give him a shot right back.
Correct. Yeah. I think the way that he ran in the Derby, if he wasn't in the one hole, he probably would have won. And I also think that he might be just flat out better than these horses, period. And I know that's saying a lot, especially in a year where all the 3-year-olds are very, very competitive. I mean, look at this field we have here. It's almost completely different from the Preakness and the Derby, So
it was the first time since I saw it was the first time, and I put it down, in 109 years, no Preakness starter comes back in the Belmont. That's pretty crazy. Not one horse that ran 2-3 weeks ago in the field of 14 that we had in the Preakness is back here to run in the Belmont.
I mean, they might not be the best 3-year-olds, but there's a lot of them, and they're pretty good, and they're very competitive with one another.
They're evenly matched too. Yeah,
correct. And that's why I think, Growth Equity is really going to try to put the pedal to the metal here and get in Powershift's way. And if that happens, Renegade is going to get the trip of a lifetime. This horse is just going to sit right behind that speed, take over at the top of the stretch, and just run home. I can see it happening in my head already. Hopefully we can get that 2 to 1. I'm fearing it's going to be a little bit less than that. You probably get about 8 to 5 on that horse, but if I'm closing out bets, I'd feel really good with Renegade on my ticket.
Barry's going to try to set himself up to get to Renegade. We'll look for a little more value elsewhere with Commandment and with Power Shift. Tons of respect for Renegade. I think we have to put in a top 4 for the Derby. I have Commandment, Power Shift, Renegade, and Chief Wallaby. Those are my top 4 in that exact order. I like the Florida races, so I figure Wallaby could be in the mix there. But he still only got the 1 win. For a horse who's going to take a ton of money, I think he's just going to probably be too short than I want to take in there. Ryan,
I'm not sure he really wants to go a mile and a quarter either.
Yeah.
That's the other thing with
he might be
Chief
like a
Wallaby.
miler.
I know he got impeded sort of in mid-stretch, but he didn't have the kind of run that was going to win that race anyway. He might have had a better finish if he got a cleaner trip, but I don't think he was going to be in the top 2 spots either way, even if he got a clean trip.
Barry, we see you doing some great work with Louis Rabot with the Horse Racing Happy Hour. You got anything coming up this week with Louis talking some Saratoga?
No, we're actually doing Horseshoe for tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Okay, Horseshoe Indy.
Yep, live stream tonight at 7 p.m. if you want to check it out.
Beautiful. So we'll check Barry out talking some Horseshoe Indy for their Wednesday big day. Ryan, I know you and I we're recording this, and then not long after you're going to be recording a show with Andy Serling talking about some Belmont stuff. Where else can we find you throughout the week if we want to follow along more?
Yeah, over on In the Money at the Gallop Out, we'll be doing that. Yeah, 3 p.m. about 40 minutes from the time of this recording. By the time it's out, it'll be live on YouTube with Andy Serling going over the Woody Stevens, the Met Mile, and of course the Belmont Stakes. So that's going to be a ton of fun. And we'll probably have some more videos coming out this week. We just covered Indy with Charlie Freeman and myself for tomorrow because I have a couple nice state bred races out there. So just over on In the Money on the Gallop Out tab.
Yeah, if you're fans of Horseshoe Indy, we're going to get a lot of coverage of that from Ryan and for Barry for helping you out with some of their races for tomorrow. So follow along with them on social media. And then Noah, you guys do a great job helping us out, promote DRF Newbie on your shows. We really appreciate that. We think it's a great fit because you guys are younger. There's so few young people in racing. And so for the younger people and the newer folks that are tuning into your shows, they'll get that information and they'll get so much great information too. Where else can we find more about you this week, Noah?
Yeah, so the HHH Racing Podcast, if you want to find me specifically, you'll find me on Pacific Horse Players. Obviously, we switch around Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights. But I know this week coming up, we've got basically all days covered Wednesday through Saturday. Belmont Stakes Festival at Saratoga. So if you're interested in betting any of those days, they got the state bred action on Wednesday, great card Thursday. Obviously, there are some of the races that we talked about on Friday. They're going to be covering those as well. And then obviously gearing up towards Saturday, which is going to be a really fun day. Can't wait.
And we got to give a little love to your buddy Jackson Muniz, who he joined us on the Derby Week show. Jackson has got a new gig. He's going to be working with Naira Betts, dealing with some of their contest stuff. So if I see Jackson out there this weekend, I'll try to get a little interview with him for DRF Socials so we can hear from him and we can wish him the best of luck. So that's what's so great about this, right? It's like when we're all friends, it's like Barry and I have been in this situation too, where we did a show together with Matt DeSantis, who it works with Jackson, right? With Naira Betts out there. And it's like, it's so great when you're able to see your friends and the people that you've worked with getting success and like getting pulled up into these great gigs. So we're rooting the best for Jackson. And Ryan, you're nodding your head. That's your buddy Jackson. And I know you're super happy for him.
Oh, absolutely. I'm stoked for him. He's out there. He's living the dream. He's texted me pictures in our group chat of him at the rail at Saratoga at like 7 a.m.
Awesome.
So he's giddy out there. So I love to see it.
Awesome. Hard work pays off. Good job, Jackson. We're going to be rooting for you. We wish you the best of luck there. And we'll get you back on here one of these shows with us too and to talk sometime. Noah, thank you so much. Barry, thank you so much as always. Just a quick reminder, everyone, go get those Belmont Stakes past performances. Head on over to shop.drf.com. And then Wednesday night, myself, David Aragona, Craig Milkowski will be answering some of your questions and comments. We'll go horse by horse through the Belmont field. We'll pull up the daily racing form past performances. For Barry, for Noah, for Ryan, I am Gino. As we say goodbye, let's find out a little bit more about DRF Newbie.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off.
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie. the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made